Hello again, my friends, and you are my friends, and welcome to your Monday night evening edition of the Formula One Fan Show Live, the show that gives you, the F1 fans, the chance to have your say live. There is a link if you'd like to come on the show today and discuss anything F1. You're more than welcome to do so. If you're watching this back on a day other than Monday, or maybe even a Monday night, and you didn't catch us live, then we are live every Monday at 7:15, and you can catch this in podcast format on all podcast platforms. Just search F1 Fan Show Live, or seek out myself on Twitter at HDR Martin, or Steve at Steve65462. Don't try and find Neil, because by the time he picks it up, we'd probably be all old men with grandchildren, and it'd just be no good. But welcome in. It's obviously a no race fun day Monday. We've got 4 delightful topics on the wheel to discuss, and anything that you guys or girls may bring. Now, joining me this evening, as I've mentioned, are Steve and Neil. I'll bring our aficionado, our true host, our inspiration in first. Stephen Thompson, welcome in, my man. How you doing?
Hello, I'm good. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. Sat through an abject, deflating, depressing 0-0 draw. But I was just thinking, as your intro is playing there, we must be coming up to nearly a year anniversary. We must, because I remember us starting the show a year ago when the light was lighter in the evenings, and we had beers in our hand, and the world was upside down, but we were trying to bring some sort of calm to it. It must be nearly a year, right?
I think we're getting there. I think it was sort of around sort of June, July time, around the time of the first race last season, wasn't it?
It was. Well, I'll have to go through the archives and find out. But a year on, here we are. Are you still sipping a fine beverage as we sit here?
Yes, I have a delightfully fresh beverage called water this evening, which is good.
Me too. You got to hydrate to dehydrate, as somebody once told me.
Well, I've had quite a lot of beer the past couple of days, and I've been in for a run this evening, and I've really felt it. So that I'm gonna have water tonight.
You been for a run?
Yes. Yeah.
Was someone chasing you?
Not quite. No, not quite. But it's bloody cold.
What are you running for?
Just, recreational purposes.
Oh, I've heard people do that.
Me and my friend have been running since last summer, and it was quite nice because we started it at the hottest point of the year. So it was like 30 degrees, and it's all right at the minute. So,
hey, warm weather training. I used to love that. Whenever I went on holiday, right? Because before I had my injury and was disabled, I used to go to the gym early hours, 6 a.m. I wouldn't call myself a gym nut, but I was somebody who would like to try and have a bit of fitness, so back into football. When you go on holiday, that first day or two, I used to always get up 6 a.m, run on the beach, thinking I was, like Baywatch reincarnated. And then by day 3, you're smashing the alarm, and then you just slide and back into the all-inclusive, give me.
Yeah.
That's pretty what I'd be like now if I could run as well. I used to start well, but you'd never finish.
No, we started right, and I've got a bit of a knee injury at the minute, so that really hurt. But I cracked it on a door frame, so it's nothing hardcore. It's across the knee.
Talking of someone who likes to run, and this guy, he can run for days.
Wake up to the wake up to the money, turn me right on. You look like you got dressed with no lights on. I'm Superman that spin like a cyclone. Fit check spin like a cyclone. Wake up to the money, turn me right on.
Yeah, but we're crap. We're not going to dominate any team.
Oh, how true that statement is this evening. Mr. Moles, Mr. Positivity, welcome in.
Hello there.
Did you manage to capture or catch any of that dominating performance this afternoon?
No.
You lucky man. You lucky man. How are we?
Were we that good?
No, we were worse.
Okay.
Even your level of positivity, which obviously is quite low, would be too high for what we saw this afternoon. It was a shower, and I'd encourage any town fan to go back and watch the match day ticket, because it was just full of passion and honesty. And I hope the players, I hope they have it piped in to the coach on the way home, and they watch it and they digest it and they see what it was hurt. It was a fan base that was hurt. Anyhow, on to F1, but there was no F1 this weekend. How are we feeling on our first bye weekend?
Yeah, all right. It's It feels like there's all this build up for Formula One, and it started, and then it's like brilliant. Now you got 2 weeks off. Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Yep. Build you into it, and then the break.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do we fill off Sunday?
It's because of was it Vietnam and China?
Explain that to me. Why have we got a week missing this? A week free already?
Because of those races that haven't gone ahead.
Oh, they haven't gone ahead. So
No.
You haven't got to ask why, I imagine. But okay, cool. All right, well, not cool, but okay, fine. How do we fill our Sunday? How do we fill it? What do we do?
Went out for a walk.
Depressing, Steve.
Had a lovely Easter lunch, bit of roast lamb.
Oh, me too. Me too.
Beautiful. It's got to be on Easter, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's just the rules. I know Neil had a fish and chip supper. I just thought that was cheating on Easter Sunday. If you're not cooking elbow in grease from lamb, then is it really Sunday? Is it really Easter? I mean, is it?
It's got to be lamb on Easter Sunday. Always has been.
Yeah, likewise. I've got lamb tonight. Lamb and chorizo pasta bake. It's going to be delightful. Neil, what have you got? Last night's fish and chip leftovers. So you can't have that, can you, from a chip shop to take away? No, you see.
There you go. I might have cold lamb sandwiches. Beautiful.
We win.
Do you?
No, I don't know if we do. What have you got?
I don't know. Whatever Gemma's making.
Love it. Love it. Talking of which, we have somehow come up with some rather... Oh, ITFC Tweedy, fish and chips on a Sunday, let alone Easter Sunday. I know, it's a Friday meal, Tweedy. It's a Friday meal. You tell him. Yeah, but you went for a walk, didn't you? So I imagine it's probably at the end of your walk right now.
It was, yeah.
Fair play. Southwold, wasn't it?
Yeah, we went to Aldborough first.
Aldborough do better fish and chips than Southwold.
I don't think so.
Do you not, Steve?
Nah.
I can't comment. I've had fish and chips from neither.
I think
fish and chips I've had were from Sheringham, and they were amazing.
They're good in Sheringham. Yeah, I mean, I do know my chippies in the eastern region. Sheringham is pretty good. You don't get a body like me without knowing your chippies. But yeah, I always thought I was better Zelda, but one man's gold, another man's what. So we have somehow put together a little list of items on a wheel. I've just spun the wheel. So the first of it, I know. The first of it coming up is... Oh, I adjusted the speed setting for a competition and I haven't adjusted it back. So it's still going. Still going. There it is. Okay, one team that could fly under the radar and surprise people this year. Could be a good surprise or a bad surprise. But what is one team that really could surprise people? Steve?
I'm going to go with Alfa Romeo.
Okay, why?
Mainly because I think it's going to be teams like Aston Martin, obviously big name, teams like Alpha Tauri with Yuki Tsunoda and Gasly that are going to be getting most of the attention this year behind the main sort of Mercedes Red Bull battle. I think they're going to be getting all the attention, and I think Alfa Romeo could get some serious points here because they're not looking too bad so far, and no one's going to be paying them as much attention as the likes of the other Alpha team and Aston.
Obviously, their two drivers are Giovinazzi and Raikkonen, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Which one for you is going to have the best season in this surprise car then?
Raikkonen. Yeah, he's more consistent than Giovinazzi, quicker.
Yeah? Is that an age thing? Is that just a general skill thing, Steve? Or what makes you think that? Or makes that the case?
I think it's a mixture of both. He's got age. He's got the experience that comes from age, and this is his 20th season in Formula One. Or 20th year in Formula One anyway, because he had a couple of seasons retired. I think he's got a pace advantage over Giovinazzi. He's much more experienced, much more skilled, and he can get more out of any car he drives.
Would you agree with that, Neil, in terms of the two drivers?
Yeah, I pretty much agree. I think Giovinazzi is slowly improving. He was very inconsistent to start with, pretty much a spin-off and be out of races and things, but is improving. I think Steve is right. Raikkonen does still just about have it.
There are two team photos on the F1 page, just brilliant. I don't know if you've seen them. Go check them out. It's like Kimi surprises the camera. So, yeah, he is.
Yeah, but they had to do that, Martin. If you knew Kimmy, he doesn't want a camera in his face. So the only way to get a picture of him is to, be round the corner and
fair enough.
boom.
Whereas Giovinazzi's looking like this suave MI5 type. Is he an F1? Is he a super spy? It's just that very suave, debonair type fella. Go on.
So I was going to say, Giovinazzi sort of looks like a Formula One driver. He's got like the slicked back hair, and he's got that sort of British. He's got not British, but he's got that sort of motoring sort of look with the facial hair and the swept back hair. But
he's got all the gear, but no idea.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Look at me. I look like a stereotypical Formula One driver, and but unfortunately, he's not got the speed or the skills.
Well, Tweedy says he's never rated Giovinazzi. He's lucky to still be in F1 this year. Is that fair?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That is my opinion of previous seasons. Yeah.
Okay. And your team is, Neil? What's your team?
Well, when I heard this was coming up, I had a choice of two. Mm-hmm. There were only two that were ever going to fly under the radar, and that's Williams or Alfa Romeo. Okay. So as Alfa Romeo is gone, mine has to be Williams.
Right. Tell us why. I mean, Steve must be literally delirious with the words Williams under the radar.
Williams have already been said in the show. I love it.
They're heading towards points if that's true. But why Williams for you then, Neil?
Well, as was mentioned, AlphaTauri and those, they're already names as such, and we expect something of them. And the fact that Tsunoda and Gasly have done well, it's just down to, like I say, Alfa Romeo and Williams that have not really shown their hand quite as yet, and the ones that could potentially fly under the radar. So Williams, if they've done a step forward, it's slightly shown in Bahrain, but let's hope it can continue and they can show a little bit more.
What's the priorities got to be for Williams, Neil? Because you often see, I think even in race one you saw it. Latifi doesn't finish a race, and Russell struggles. So what are the immediate aims for Williams this year to fly under the radar?
Well, initially you would say show a bit of consistency and look like you've made a step forward. If they can't score points, that is definitely, they need to show that they're closer to the midfield and they've made a step forward. And if they don't get points early, then they've got their choice to make of how quickly do they want to go to next year's car.
Mm-hmm. I read I think it was an article last night where they were saying how team Haas, all they're going to do is try and fight Williams to be better than Williams. So is it fair to say that the F1 circle still view Williams as the run?
One of their drivers is going to be fighting the barrier.
Well, on a weekly basis. But is it fair that Williams are still viewed as that baseline? That's where the end is.
Yes, I would say so, because they've had 2019 and 2020. They were rooted at the back, especially 2019. An awful car. Mm-hmm. So they've been the back markers now for a good few years. So yeah, even if they have made a step up, you're not going to expect them to immediately be competing with the likes of AlphaTauri, Alfa Romeo, that sort of thing. So basically, I think it is still going to be a fight at the back between Haas and Williams, but I think Williams will have the edge.
Is that fair? Edge over Haas there, Neil, or the team?
I think Haas are the worst team on the grid. Well, they showed they were in Bahrain, so I believe that's correct.
Okay. Talking of people that didn't have a great week one, Aston Martin and Vettel. What can they right the wrongs of week one? Can they improve from week one? And what's really the baseline for them this year, Steve?
I would say they can sort it out. I mean, I know it's his first race in a new car, and it's going to take a little bit of time, I suppose, because he had such little time in testing. Mm-hmm. He'll probably, I would imagine he'll be spending a lot of time in the simulator over the coming days and weeks to really get a feel for what they can do. The best Aston Martin can really hope for this season is they can't maybe pick up where they left off as Racing Point last year, because they were 4th in the table last year, I think.
Yeah.
The best they can hope for really is sort of fighting the likes of, McLaren, Alpine, for that sort of third, fourth, and fifth area in the table. Lance Stroll, I'm still sort of unconvinced about. Vettel is going to take Vettel's going to take a couple of races, I think, to get up to really get up to speed with that car. If and when he does, then it could be very good.
No,
Stroll of late has shown he's got some speed. He just needs to, again, the word consistency. That's what he really needs to improve on. As for Vettel, he hasn't had much time in the car. The team have been snubbed a little bit with performance due to the changes, and they're struggling. As Mercedes, even though they're quickest, Mercedes, they've got the same rake issues and how the car handles basically. Vettel's just getting used to the team, and in time, hopefully, he'll become who he used to be at Red Bull rather than the man we had at Ferrari.
Well, we say about needing more time. He only had 117 laps at Bahrain pre-testing, which is the lowest of anyone except Williams' Roy Nissany. Is that how you say the surname there, Steve? Nissany? Mm-hmm. So that's got to play a little bit into it, isn't it? That you've not had a lot of time there, and you're welcome. Daniel Barnard thinks Vettel's finished. Is that Neil? Is that a fair comment? Is Vettel finished?
After claiming someone else moved, having to watch the tape back and then apologise, it's showing he hasn't moved on far from his how he was at Ferrari. It's a fair point. It could be the truth. I think me and Steve are just hoping that he'll move past that and he'll become more of the winner he was at Red Bull.
I'm talking about. Go on, Steve.
The Vettel we saw at Red Bull and the Vettel we saw at Ferrari were just two totally different people, especially towards the end of his time at Ferrari, so the last couple of years. Because at Red Bull, he was the dominant driver, the all-conquering driver. And Ferrari just really seemed to sort of beat him down and sort of sap that out of him. And he had some of his own mistakes then started to creep in, and he's proved that he's still not past that, and he's still making stupid errors. The lack of testing wasn't his fault, because I know that he was kept in the garage for a long time with car issues. But like you said, Neil, for a driver of his age and his experience and his success, to have that silly crash with Ocon and then to initially blame Ocon when everyone can see that it was his own fault sounded desperate. So I wouldn't say whether he's finished, but he's running out of time.
He did at least see the videos back and admit that it was him.
At least he could then say that.
In our Battle of the Britons, a driver that doesn't often get a lot of mention, and perhaps he should, particularly after week one, was Lando Norris. Just talk me through, in both your opinions and your own words, what you saw from Lando in week one. Because I saw from reading, I don't know anything, I'll be honest. I saw a more aggressive Lando from last year, and somebody who wants to go and wants to progress. You talk about Vettel going backwards in terms of what he used to be, etc., etc. In your own words, in your own opinions, Steve, I know, Neil, because you're a big Lando Norris fan. What did you see from Lando week one?
He was quick. He wasn't scared to put his car where he needed to. He feels, unlike Daniel, who's still learning that car, he doesn't feel confident in it, I don't believe. Especially how Norris outbraked him, and as that's one of Ricciardo's strong points. He outbraked him and went round the outside of him. And that just shows that Lando's comfortable with the car, and he's getting it to do what he wants. And he just carried on, kept putting in good laps, and he finished fourth, didn't he? So was it?
It was a great race.
Finish.
Did you see a different Lando in week one than say last year, Steve?
I did. He was aggressive, very consistent as well. This is his third season in Formula One now, so he's really ironing out those little errors and mistakes. And I think he knows that this season he's got to perform, because with a driver like Daniel Ricciardo in the same car, he needs to really be at his best. And like we said, it's going to take a little bit of time for Ricciardo to really get up to speed with that car, similar to Vettel and the Aston Martin. But
sure,
like Neil said, Ricciardo's been sort of become famous for these really late breaking moves. So you think, how the hell did he pull it off? So to have it done to him shows he's not quite there. So I think the bigger the advantage Norris gets over Ricciardo in the early part of the season will definitely pay off towards the end.
It was mentioned that because I read a little article and it mentioned the fact that should we take away from Norris how far ahead he was of Ricciardo, just because Ricciardo had floor damage. When Gasly hit him, he got floor damage, and that is the reason Daniel was so far behind. I don't think you can take anything away from Lando, but yeah,
no, it was
all that has to happen. Yeah, all that has to happen is Ricciardo's closer to him next time.
One to keep an eye on, certainly in the Battle of the Britons. And there's a few on the track this year. Talking about week 1 being so early. But are we already seeing some mind games coming out between Red Bull and McLaren, Steve? Because I think it was Wolf that's come out and claimed Red Bull is leading the pack. And then we've had Hamilton, I think, today come out or recently come out and say it'll take a gigantic effort to really repeat week 1 and keep pace with Red Bull and Verstappen. Are we seeing those mind games already?
Yeah, Mercedes have done that for about 5 or 6 years on the bounce now. It's just constant towards the early part, especially in testing. Oh, I don't think we're the quickest car now. I think Red Bull are. I think Ferrari are. And then you get to the first race and they're 3 seconds a lap quicker. This one felt different because obviously Red Bull was the quickest car over the weekend. But when they said, "Oh, Red Bull are the quickest car," I don't know. I think they're pretty much on an equal terms. I mean, the mind games are a massive part of Formula One. And they've certainly started early.
They always do it. They just throw the pressure onto the other team. Red Bull have always been, we're not quite there. And to be true or fair to them, they haven't been quite there. And Wolf always, we've got more improving to do. We need to work hard and all that sort of thing. Sounds like Ipswich manager.
It does.
And,
but is it truer this year, Neil? Do you really sense a changing of that? And it's not just the wordplay. It's not just making some stuff that tries to sit in their camp and eat at them. It's actually a true statement this year. Do you feel that? Do you feel a bit different about it?
Well, I think what we did with our pre-season bits, I do feel that Mercedes are going to have a closer fight and this season will be all the better for it.
Steve, Daniel Barnard, can't wait for next season when the new wheels are bringing him.
Yeah,
I don't know why they're holding that out so long.
I don't know. I mean, I just want to quickly jump back to that point. Obviously,
yeah, go for it.
In the past, when it's been such a close fight, I mean, I'd always get irritated when Lewis wins or when Mercedes just dominate and run away with it. But even though Lewis won and Mercedes won last week, I didn't care because it was such a great race. We had a genuine battle all weekend. We did not know who was going to win it. No. But yeah, the new wheels, they look awesome because Pirelli had testing days last week and I saw it on the Ferrari and on the Alpine and they do look brilliant. I was a bit sort of skeptical at first, but I think it's because I spent so many years with the sort of 13-inch rims they have now. They just look so strange, but they grow on you.
Okay. Before we come to our final point, 2 things we have to do on a Monday. First of all, bemoaning Bottas. What has Bottas done this week, Kim, possibly to upset Steve?
Nothing. I have nothing this week. There is no bemoaning Bottas. Trust me, I've been keeping an eye out for something. I've been scrutinizing his moves. Just do something like he ate his cereal with the wrong type of spoon.
Does he stream on Twitch?
No.
There you go. That's why. We want to see Bottas on Twitch streaming some F1 against Lando Norris.
There was something, I suppose, because he had a bit in the new series of Drive to Survive on Netflix. I didn't want to see his ass, to be honest. But that's all I've got.
Okay. Our second weekly segment is, where is Mr. Neil Moles today? Which part of the country are you in? Where do we think he is, Steve?
Well, I'm gonna guess at home.
Controversial. Is he at home for the first time of the series?
I am.
Boom.
Because he said Gemma. He said, what Gemma's making him, so it sort of gives it away, really.
Well, maybe he's been so often to these hotels, Steve, that he knows who the cook is now. He knows who they are. Right. Our last topic for this evening. Somehow we've eaten 26 minutes so far out of a raceless weekend. We'll do it all again next week. However, the last topic is one driver that didn't get enough coverage from week 1. So who didn't get enough coverage, good or bad, because of, say, Hamilton's epic comeback, and it was epic, but who went under the radar and didn't get enough coverage? Steve?
There's two drivers that spring to mind with me. One of whom is Mick Schumacher, but the other one I'm going to go for is Charles Leclerc.
Okay.
Because he did a great job in that Ferrari. We still don't know really what the true sort of competitiveness of that Ferrari is. It seemed quick. It seemed sluggish. I don't think we'll rightly know for another few races, but he did a great job. He finished 5th. He had a good battle with Lando. I think there was not enough, because obviously, rightly so, I suppose, most of the attention was on the battle between Verstappen and Hamilton. But Leclerc had a good race, and I think he went a bit under the radar there.
Yeah. Did the Ferrari car surprise you, Neil?
Just a little bit. We had in the practice sessions that McLaren were up there, and it just seemed that in the end they were showing more of a hand than some of the other teams were, and they dropped back, especially in qualifying. But whether they done the opposite to Williams and set up more for the race, because obviously last season Russell was brilliant in qualifying and then just slipped away. Whether McLaren done the opposite, risked a little bit of lap time in qualifying in order to be more consistent in the race. That could have been the case. They were good in the race, and that's where Ferrari were the opposite. They didn't look so comfortable in the race.
Before we come on to your driver, Neil, keep brewing on it, keep thinking on it. Steve, quick question for you from Daniel Barnard. Did you guys see that Williams got a new technical director? Will that push them further up and may start becoming a force next season? Just touch. We'll probably talk about that more next weekend or next Monday, but just touch on it now.
Well, I want to try and find quickly the guy's name, because it's an amazing name. It's Francois Javier de Maison, but everyone just calls him FX.
You would.
Which is awesome. FX de Maison. And I think with Jost Capito sort of running the show now, with FX as well, they've got a lot of experience between them in other categories. I think FX came from Rally, I do believe. So I think so. So yeah, it should be good. They've got a lot of talented guys there, a lot of dedicated guys. They've got some fantastic facilities, because Doralton, the owners of Williams, said that when they got to the Williams factory, they saw they had some of the best facilities in Formula One at the factory, which struck me as a bit of a surprise as well. But
that's a bit of Billy Ball.
It's no, to be fair, I mean, 2022, they've got to start thinking about next season. They're going to upgrade the car early this year, apparently, as well. But there's going to come a time where they think, right, next year.
Leave some for next week. Otherwise, we'll have nothing to talk about next week. So, Neil.
Well, Bottas will do something. It's fine.
Well, you've got to hope so now. But Neil, talk to us. One driver.
Well, I was going to make a joke one. I was going to say Mazepin didn't get enough showing, but the fact that he went off early on in the race meant that he weren't going to get any showing.
No, not allowed. Sorry, it's disqualified. Judge's decision.
I must admit that with the Ferrari team, Sainz, he didn't get that much showing either. So
no, that must be true, because I don't know anything about his race. So tell me about it.
He sort of just drifted around. He dropped down the same as Leclerc did, and then Leclerc just about stayed in touch, whereas Sainz just seemed to fall and just be in that midfield, didn't he? And we just never really saw what was happening with him. But
and that's a skill issue, isn't it? Because when you get a car the way the Ferrari's got the car this year, Neil, and you really start to see who the better drivers are, right? And obviously Leclerc is a better driver, would you say, than Sainz?
I would say yes, but Sainz, like Vettel and Ricciardo, he's new in that team. He's got to get used to it. That's if Ferrari, who generally are a one-driver team, whether they'll give him the chance. That's the main thing. But he didn't disgrace himself. He was in touch, wasn't he? So
yeah. Do you agree with that, Steve?
Yeah, it was solid. Like Neil said, he's still, this is a car that Leclerc is already familiar with, because he drove I know obviously the rear end has changed, but he drove most of that car last season. And he has come from a very different team with a very different car, with a very different engine to Ferrari. And they are famously a one-driver team. Hopefully, he'll get the resources to push and to be competitive, and I think he will. It's going to take a few races, like Neil said, with Ricciardo and Vettel. He just needs to be more in touch with Leclerc. He needs to keep with him and get sort of in that battle for the top 6 rather than sort of 8th, 9th, 10th.
Absolutely. Okay, we're done. We're dusted. Half hour in the books. I love it. We'll come back again next week. We'll obviously preview where we're going week after that. So it's Imola, isn't it?
Imola.
Look at that. Look at the knowledge. Oh, yes. What is the full name?
I'm not even going to bother. I'll look it up and I'll say for next. It's something really ridiculously long.
Del Campana, isn't it? Or something like that. It involves.
It's got the word Pirelli in it, and it's got the word Emilia Romagna and Formula 1 somewhere.
Somewhere, yeah, somewhere. Right at the end. That's not important, that bit. No one needs to know that bit.
Just
so, right, we're done. We're dusted. Another one in the books. We'll preview Imola next week. We'll discuss Williams, the technical director, next week, and probably a whole lot more. Thank you all for joining us. Steve, Neil, appreciate your half hour. Appreciate your time. And Steve, you can lead us out.
Yeah, thank you very much for watching. We do appreciate it very much. Obviously, it's another raceless week next week, but we'll still have plenty more to chew over and discuss before we head to Imola. So, yeah, we'll hopefully see you next week.
See you next week.
Helps me focus my attention.